I think statutory law is good and everything, but I would say a lot of Americans live by the law of the land. Now, if you're not familiar with the law of the land, pretty much it's, if you come around looking for trouble, well then the clip-on tie comes off and you end up talking to problem solver number 1 and problem solver number 2. Now, with that being said, the law of the land and statutory law don't necessarily intermingle too terribly well, so we need to take a little ponder, a little gander at how they can work together and how you don't get yourself in trouble with federal authorities and local authorities. So obviously today we'll be talking about Tennessee State Code 3911611, which is self-defense. Now obviously self-defense varies in a lot of different states, so if you do something in California, you're not going to get charged the same as you would in Tennessee. So what are the qualifications for self-defense? So pretty much in order to qualify for self-defense, you need to prove that the aggressor was partaking in a felony or a Class A misdemeanor and that retreat was not readily available in the situation you were in. Force is immediately necessary to protect against unlawful force, and there is a threat of imminent danger and or death, serious bodily injury, or grave sexual abuse, and that the belief of danger is found upon unreasonable grounds. And of course, when you're in your house, you could pretty much do whatever you want to, or if you are a guard for a nuclear facility, you pretty much have free range there as well. And then obviously the classification of the crime. Now, obviously the crime is, self-defense isn't a crime, but you can be charged with whatever crime that you did not qualify for self-defense. So if you murder somebody, but you weren't found on self-defense, well then you're going to get charged with murder. If you assault somebody and you're not found on grounds of self-defense, well then you're going to get charged with assault. So what is the minimum and maximum jail time that you can find yourself in on self-defense? Now obviously, since I said previously, like self-defense is varying on whatever the charge is that you were not found on self-defense, you can find yourself in jail for the 12-hour cooling off period for domestic abuse, or you can find yourself in life for prison if you did not get found on self-defense for a murder charge. So really, it's just really whatever crime you're charged on. Again, now with that being said, I will hand this over to a very well-respected member of the community and my partner in this presentation, the very fine gentleman that I do believe you will enjoy hearing from.
Should self-defense be part of the law? Yes, ultimately it should, because life sometimes presents you with situations where it is dangerous and you have to sometimes enact force to either escape or end that situation, and it should be legal under state law to enact yourself in such a way to end those situations. So any elements from my crime that I would edit would just be the proportions at which force is considered during cases, because the current way force is formatted in these cases is if you hit somebody, you can only hit them back. That is the classification of equal force. But in situations where one person is physically superior to another, for instance, a 30-year-old man compared to a small child, the 30-year-old man evidently has a large advantage over that kid and could easily beat, hurt, or even kill that kid if he so chose. So it is plausible to consider the fact that if that kid pulled out a weapon, he would be doing that in self-defense because his life is justifiably in danger. So, in my opinion, that is one thing that should be taken into consideration during these court cases. But other than that, the law is pretty set and good. So, between me and Houston, neither of us really had a family or friend that had been convicted or arrested for self-defense or attacking someone in self-defense. But we did find a celebrity. Michael Gillis was a old artist, musical artist, who, after a large fight broke out in the club, he left the club to his car to retrieve a firearm because there was a large crowd going out and there was a lot of commotion and everything, and he didn't want his firearm to be stolen from the car with all the violence going on because there was a large fight going on. But as he got his firearm from the car, he was ambushed from behind and caught off guard evidently. So he drew his firearm and fired 2 shots at his attacker, one hitting them in the leg, and ultimately that escalation of the situation, or what was considered an escalation in that case, brought him a charge to attempted murder, 25 years. That was later acquitted, and he was charged with aggravated battery, but that is the best example we could currently find on self-defense, or just a case where self-defense was enacted in an everyday situation. So yeah, that's it.